Rock and Jouv. Rock and Jouv. Rock and Jouv. Rock and Jouv. Rock and Jouv.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Rock and Jouv Show.
Welcome back.
So this
I hope you
episode,
guys are having a nice evening, day, whenever you're listening to this. We hope you're enjoying it.
we thought that we would go a little bit more spur of the moment. It's one thing if you can plan out an episode days before. It's another thing if you can totally wing it. So that's what we're going to do here.
Yeah, we got a show we could do both.
Yep. Jack of all trades, master of none.
Jack of, yes, that's what we definitely are in this show.
So we're going to have a Knicks Celtics episode. We're pretty much due. I don't think we've really done a long segment on either of those teams, and of course them being our favorite teams. So if you would like to start, why don't you just give me just really say whatever you want about the Knicks this season, how they're doing, their standing, whatever you want to say about the Knicks. You have the floor. Go for it.
All right, so as we record this episode, contrary to what any predictions anybody might have made, the Knicks are currently at the 6th place in the Eastern Conference. Remember before the season, I don't remember what we talked about on the show, Knicks-wise. I don't remember too much, to be honest. But Julius Randle, off the air. Did I or did I not tell you that I did not want to watch another season of him playing basketball for my favorite team?
Yeah, I can actually tell you exactly what you said.
I would, if you have the text message, if you want to pull it up or a quote or something. But,
yeah, you said,
and
quote, dude, I can't watch another season of Alfred and Julius. I physically cannot effing take it. That's what you said.
That sounds just about right. So I have to come clean. Before the season, I did not want Julius Randle playing on my favorite basketball team anymore. He's not the worst player in the NBA. I mean, last year he was not the worst player in the NBA. Maybe Alfred Payton was. He probably even wasn't, but he was very, very difficult to watch. I wanted him traded, especially after a drafted top and who plays power forward. I wanted Julius Randle traded. So I have to come clean and say, yeah, I was wrong. And Julius Randle, I don't know if it's Tom Thibodeau. I don't know if it's the fact that he had this really long layoff where the Knicks didn't play for 290 days or whatever it was. But Julius Randle worked on himself, worked on his game, and he's come back a completely different player. So I have to absolutely give him props on that. Just his all-around offensive game. He's probably in the most improved player conversation. He might even be in the All-Star conversation. So I have to give him props on that.
Whoa.
On the bench.
Sure,
but I mean,
sure.
At this current second, the Knicks are 6th in the East, as whack as that is. So he could be. I would say he's probably in the All-Star conversation just with how he's played, and that's not something that I ever thought that I would ever say, even 1 month ago.
Yeah, you don't take that lightly. I feel like if you say things like that, you mean them. You're not a delusional fan.
No, I think if there's one thing, I think I might be too delusional.
Mm-hmm. If you will.
No. So the other guy that you just pulled up in my text was Alfred Payton.
Mm-hmm.
I take nothing back about what I said about Alfred Payton. I'm sure he's a nice guy. You know, I'm sure he probably does good stuff off the court for the community. He might be a nice guy. I mean, Julius Randle and him, they both were on the Pelicans for a year, and then they signed with the Knicks together. Yeah, I'm sure that he has some good qualities, and maybe the guys in the team like him too, off the court. But on the court, the dude is an absolute liability. He can't shoot. He had a game the other day where he played 30 minutes and had 0 assists. I've never seen somebody miss so many floaters and layups at the rim, sometimes contested crazy shots that after he hits a layup or two, he just gets the audacity to take whatever he wants. And sometimes they give him a wide open lane and he'll just brick a floater. And I forget if I mentioned it. I think I did. He can't shoot. I'm just going to have to say it again. He cannot shoot. And his problem last year where he was freezing out RJ Barrett, he definitely does that a lot this year too, where RJ just won't touch the ball. And it's upsetting. Again, he's probably not the worst player in the NBA, but in terms of the way that Emmanuel Quickley is playing basketball right now, who's still coming off the bench, and even Austin Rivers, I would say, has been playing better than him this year. And when Frankie Ntilikina finally comes back from his knee injury, I want him to be getting minutes over Elfrid Payton as well because of his defensive prowess. So if the Knicks can trade Elfrid Payton at the trade deadline, that'd be fantastic. Even if they get like a bag of, I need something. If they get like
Bag of marbles.
a bag of coffee grinds or something.
Okay.
I'll take whatever. I'll take literally whatever. I'm not saying he doesn't have a place in the NBA. I mean, he's not the worst passer. It's like once in a while he'll pop off for a random triple-double, but he doesn't make any sense with the personnel on the Knicks or really the young core that needs to be getting more minutes.
All right, so let me ask you, who is your biggest surprise this year?
I mean, the obvious answer is probably Julius Randle, but the guy that I really want to talk about is Emmanuel Quickly.
Exactly.
So I just have, man, I was going to make this my trivia question, but I might as well just ask you, do you know which player in the NBA right now leads all rookies in points per 36 minutes?
Per 36?
Yes.
I mean, if we didn't have this little Emmanuel Quickly segue, I would guess it would be LaMelo. But
I think LaMelo was like fifth.
Okay.
I think like Tyrese Maxey was on it. I forget. I saw it earlier, but number one is Obi Toppin. No, it's Emmanuel Quickly. He's been playing a lot more minutes, and he's been finishing games, which is good. You want to see that. He's had some good moments in the fourth quarter, but when Elfrid Payton's on the floor, sometimes it'll just be miserable watching it. The Knicks will go on a bad run, and then all of a sudden Quickly gets inserted, and I swear to God, it could be the same exact lineup, but you just switch the two guys, and all of a sudden the Knicks go on a run. They have an outside threat at point guard. They have a guy that people have to go over screens on, and if they don't, he'll just bury a three. And also, he has really good connections with RJ Barrett, with Obi Toppin in the last couple of games, especially with Kevin Knox. I mean, Emmanuel Quickly coming off the bench has made Kevin Knox look like an NBA player. And if that's not an accomplishment based off of what we saw at times last year, I don't know what is. I definitely also wasn't one of those fans who gave up on Kevin Knox, so I'm really happy to see he's shooting over 40% from three-point this year.
Hey, there you go.
And he's playing pretty good defense as well. So, I mean, if we can get that out of Kevin Knox, I mean, I don't think he's going to hit his ceiling that some people thought he had after that crazy summer league.
Let me ask you, so how do you feel about your coaching?
Wonderful. I mean, if I had one or two complaints, I would just say that some of the veterans like Peyton or like Reggie Bullock have a little bit too long of a leash. Like when I want to see guys like Knox out there and Quickly out there, even put them in the starting lineup, and that hasn't happened yet.
So who's your coach?
Thibodeau.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right, so Tom Thibodeau. And then the other thing, I mean, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett are number 1 and 2 in minutes per game in the NBA. The two of them kind of flip-flop after every game, but like those have been the top two guys. So it's early on in the season, and it's only a 72-game season, so maybe the negatives won't come to light quite as much. But it definitely could be something concerning, especially Barrett if he starts hitting a wall towards the second half of the year. Or if guys start getting injured from playing too many minutes, which has, I don't want to say that there was a correlation under Thibodeau, but I mean, it's something that definitely could happen. So that's just something I don't want to see. But overall, I mean, if we look at it, if you had to guess amongst the teams in the NBA where the Knicks rank defensively, if you had to give a rough estimate, what number?
I probably guess right down the pack, 15.
You see, at dinner tonight, I asked my dad the same exact question, and he had the same answer. He said middle of the pack, like around 15. Number 1.
Wow.
The Knicks give up the least amount of points per game, the lowest field goal percentage, the lowest three-point percentage, and I think in overall defensive efficiency, they were 5th. But some of this definitely I mean, the last two games, I mean, we did hold your Celtics to 75 points, and then we held the Magic to 84. And I mean, in a young season that hasn't played 20 games yet, something like that will inflate the stats a little bit. But number 1, and I think that that has to be a reflection on Tom Thibodeau. We look last year under David Fizdale and ultimately Mike Miller. The Knicks were terrible defensively. I mean, you had Mitchell Robinson, who was 2 blocks a game, but as an overall team defensively, it was terrible. It was just hard to watch. And this year, I mean, Thibodeau's basically said, if you're not going to play defense, you're not going to get minutes. And that showed. I mean, the Knicks for a while were running a straight 8-man rotation. And basically, if you were going to contribute, you weren't going to play defense, you weren't going to get minutes. But then I also have to give a shout out. I mean, Mike Woodson, he's our assistant coach, our top assistant coach. I mean, his thing has always been defense, so I think he definitely has something to do with that. And then we got Kenny Payne from Kentucky and Johnny Bryant from Utah, and those are kind of our 2 other more developmental assistant coaches for our younger players. And I think the 2 of those guys have also, those 4, I mean, having a coaching staff with those 4 compared to what we've had the last, I don't know, basically decade, it's really been a breath of fresh air that the Knicks have really brought in coaches that are good at teaching and good at developing players, because that's just something we didn't do for years, and that's why we've been stuck being a dog shit team for such a long time. So I give the coaching staff so far an A+.
Where do you see yourself? Is this the year you guys are making the playoffs?
You see, I don't want to jump the gun. I mean, after the Knicks are on that win streak where we won like 4 games, I think it was like 4 out of 5 or something like that, or 5 out of 6. And every time I was like, Ashley, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to be rash or anything. But I just need to state facts and tell you, the Knicks came back down from however many against the Jazz, or the Knicks beat the Cavs and held them to this or whatever. But I mean, right now we're 6th. And I can't complain about that. We're 7.
You're dodging the question. Are you making the playoffs or not? If I wanted to hear some filibustering, I would go somewhere else. But I asked you, are you guys going to make the playoffs?
This is my answer. I'm going to try to be as logical and as unbiased as I can. I think we'll be one of the 2 play-in teams. Because
okay.
The 9 and 10 in the Eastern Conference, they get to whatever it is. It's like you have to win 2 games against. So if we're 10, we have to win 2 games in a row against the 7 seed, and they can't win 1. Or if we're the 9, I think it's the same thing, something like that. I think the Knicks are going to get one of those 2, because I look at the other teams in the. I mean, there's a couple teams that I think are definitely making the playoffs. You have the Nets, you have the Celtics, you have Philadelphia, you have the Bucks. I think those 4 are definitely in it. Right? You have the Pacers. They've started off 8-5. They traded Oladipo. I mean, things could go down that they missed the playoffs. I think they're probably in. You have the Heat, who are 5-7 right now, down at the 12 seed. I think they ultimately get it together and they make the playoffs, even if it's as like the 8 seed or something like that. So that's 6 teams right off the bat. After that, Trae Young is playing terrible basketball right now. As much as that pains me to say, he's one of my favorite players in the league. But I think he gets it right. The Hawks ultimately make the playoffs. And then looking at the other teams, the Raptors have been pretty bad. They could definitely get in. The Magic are mediocre enough that they could get in. The Cavaliers are fake. Honestly, the Magic are pretty fake. The Bulls haven't been playing too well, but you never know. The Hornets have decent talent. I could see them getting in. But you see, there's a lot of teams that are just mediocre. The Eastern Conference is full of mediocrity. And even the Wizards, I mean, they're going to be without Russell Westbrook for a month, and I think they could even trade Bradley Beal. So I think ultimately there's enough mediocre teams, and even when the Knicks can't score, the Knicks are playing hard defensively. And I think because of that, I think that they'll get one of the 2 play-in games. I think they'll be 9 or 10.
What do you think you need to? What do you think you need to do in the off season to get better? Just one. Give me one thing that you need to do this off season to get better. To make that jump. I'm guessing you're saying that next year you guys will make that jump. What's one thing you need to do to get better?
Yeah, that's what I've said all along. I think the 2021-22 season is when the Knicks are finally going to become a playoff contending team. I'm not saying finals contender. I'm not saying we're going to get Kawhi Leonard and whoever the hell else in free agency. I think in order to take the team to the next level, it's going to have to be 3-point shooting.
Okay.
You look on the roster right now. I mean, Alec Burks, he's only played in 3 games. He's probably our best shooter. Or Kevin Knox has been shooting the ball well from 3, but there's just not a lot of floor spacers on this team. So I think you're going to have to try to get the right role players. Look at a team like the Hawks. They went out and they got Gallinari and they got Bogdanovich and they got all these guys, a lot of shooters. I mean, the Hornets, they just went out and they got Gordon Hayward. He's a good shooter. And then you drafted pass first point guard LaMelo Ball. So, I mean, that's a good move, So I think it's going to have to be 3-point shooting to take this team to the next level. And honestly, looking at it, I just don't. I'm not completely sold on what to do yet with Julius Randle. I think a lot of that's going to depend on how Obi Toppin plays this year. If he shows that he could be the power forward of the future, or if he does struggle, and especially on the defensive end, if he shows that he's a liability on that side of the floor, then maybe the Knicks have to say, all right, we can continue to develop Toppin, but I mean, Randle looked really good this year, so we might as well keep him around.
Sure.
But I mean, you look at it right now, a guy like Randle, you could probably fetch, I would say, multiple first-round picks. I'm not saying like high first-round picks lottery. I'm saying you could probably get multiple first-round picks from a team that would want a good player like him. But also you could try to say, hey, maybe we could upgrade Randle and we can get some kind of star player, like a disgruntled star, if he does look this good for the rest of the year. And I think the guy to look at is Bradley Beal. I don't know if they're able to work out something like that. I'm just trying to be hopeful here. Like a player like Beal, great scorer, great shooter, will be a great addition. Again, don't know if something like that happens. Don't know if the Knicks have the firepower or the willingness to trade some of the younger players' assets, but we'll see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think ultimately it's going to have to be 3-point shooting, and I think we're going to have to if there's one other thing I want to address, I want to be able to get – I mean, I like Nerlens Noel. I want to hopefully be able to get another guy who could spread the floor, because if those two – if Mitch Robinson and him are playing the 5, maybe if we draft somebody who could play like the 4 or the 5, like somebody who could play some legitimate stretch 5 on a small ball lineup, which Toppin might be able to do, but defensively he'll be lacking. If you can get a guy – obviously you have your 3 and D wings, but if you can get a guy who could stretch the floor, play the 4 or the 5, but also be a shot blocker – in the draft or in free agency, somebody like that, I think would complement the roster really well too.
Good, man. Well, is there any other final remarks you want to make on the Knicks before we switch topics to the other team?
Not really. I mean, ultimately, I'm pretty impressed with the young core. I mean, they've had some definitely RJ Barrett, especially had his ups and downs. Quickly had a couple bad games, but I mean, quickly looks like the steal of the draft so far. And hopefully we can get Toppin healthy and we can get him playing consistent minutes. And I just want to see. I don't want to ride the vets into the ground. I want to especially see what the young guys got. And I don't know. Hopefully, like I'm rooting for the Knicks to be doing well. Like I watch every game. I'm not even thinking about the tank. As nice as a guy like Cade Cunningham or who's the Gonzaga kid, Jalen Suggs, like somebody like that would be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not even thinking about that right now. You know.
Sure, yeah.
So, well, hopefully the next time we do a little Knicks report, I'm still as optimistic as I am right now.
For sure.
Let's hope. So, your team, the Boston Celtics. I think you definitely don't want to talk about what happened Sunday night. I tried not to talk about it too much. Aside from that, what's your outlook on what's going down right now?
Well, I mean, the whole team got COVID, and we're leaving in this time where we're playing basketball through a pandemic, right? So that's going to happen. We still sit on top of the East. We've played less games than really anybody else, so we have the highest winning percentage, hence why we're on top. But, I mean, out of our last 10, we won 7. 7 out of 3. won 7, lost 3. We dropped a game against the Knicks, but that ended a 5-game winning streak for us. I mean, I'm really happy with this team. It's honestly a lot more fun to me to watch than last year. And I know it's, we don't have Kemba. Kemba just made a comeback last game right against you. Yeah, he did poorly, of course. But, I mean, that's to be expected when you are out for the first month with injury. But I got to tell you, that first month, we really didn't miss him. And that's what's kind of refreshing, is to be able to get an all-star caliber point guard back. One of the best point guards in the league, top 10 point guard in the league without even thinking about it, right? So
Absolutely.
it's definitely nice to be getting a point guard of that caliber back. Any player of that caliber, really. Even though we don't really need him right now, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum have been playing very well. A lot of synergy with them and Marcus Smart. Peyton Pritchard has kind of fit in seamlessly. A lot of
Yeah.
players that really hadn't got time before, like Robert Williams, Grant Williams, like they're part of the roster now. They're getting real minutes, and it's nice that we brought in those veteran players in Tristan Thompson and Jeff Teague because they definitely help. We were able to beat, Bradley Beal, basically.
Yeah.
That's just a game that I can think of off the top of my head, really. That Wizards game was one that they really helped us out. But it rounds out the roster a little bit. I don't really know what our schedule is moving forward, what it looks like, but I got to say,
Oh, yeah, I forgot to talk about that, too.
we beat the Magic without Jason Tatum, Then we lost to you guys. I mean, it is what it is, I don't really – so if I got the roster
Yeah,
the games
honestly,
right here.
If I could, while you're pulling that up, if I could just interject, I mean, that game, I know, I think you said you worked and you weren't able to watch it.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that it was like a fluke game. I mean, the Knicks played pretty well, but nobody on Boston could shoot, dude. Like, you guys just had, like, those games just happen where the basket's just smaller than the basketball.
Right.
And that's going to happen, especially, I mean, Jason Tatum, your go-to guy, he was out, obviously, with COVID, and Kemba Walker was just coming back from his knee injury, and like games like those are going to happen.
Yeah, it doesn't
like,
really hurt
honest,
my feelings,
Especially, that was just a good game to miss. Like, I would not be too discouraged just because of a game like that.
Yeah, so to play out the rest of January here, we have Philly. I believe that's Wednesday. Then we have the Cavs, Bulls, Spurs, Lakers. Like, we're going to be a competitive team. I mean, we're one of the top 4 teams in the East easily, So, I mean, really probably top, well, now with Brooklyn. Oh, I would say that we can fight for that top 3. Top 3, top 4. Yeah, it's tough with Philly being at full strength, but we haven't seen, of course we lost Gordon, right, an all-star, but if you were to tell me that we lost an all-star caliber player and he went and got $30 million somewhere else, I would say that we were suffering. It was the same thing with Al, but we weren't really suffering after Al left, just like we're not really suffering after Hayward left. So it's kind of bizarre in that way. 8-4. I mean, I'm not going to overreact. Of course, we'll make the playoffs, barring any catastrophic injury or anything like that. I just want Kemba Walker to stay healthy and really be able to play the season. I want him to get comfortable to knowing that, all right, there's only, there's a big 3 now. Of course, it's not a big 3, but there are 3 best, like, really good players on this team, and everybody else is helping out. Before, it was kind of awkward because, Hayward, we got to get him the ball. He's the 4th best player. He can average 20. Like, it's kind of awkward. It's almost too much, right? But now that Hayward's gone, it kind of makes that easier, and I think Kemba's going to not only facilitate, but he's going to be able to score the basketball, and that's really what he's good at. So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I think once Kemba gets his feet back under him, it's going to be good to have a facilitator, to have a true point guard there. It'll be able to let the offense flow more freely. And, I mean, Brown and Tatum might not be putting up the craziest numbers anymore, but I think it'll help the game come to both of those guys and allow them to be more consistent.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Peyton Pritchard. I mean, I know you touched on him a little bit. How good has he been?
Yeah, I think he's been great. And it's not only that he might score 20, like he scored 20 the other day. And that was great, but that's not really what I'm expecting. I'm not happy that of course I'm happy that he scored 20, but I'm not like, all right, this dude's going to start scoring 20. It's just nice to have a player that looks really comfortable in the offense. He's willing to take shots. He's willing to make the hustle plays. I think we see that, Marcus Smart in him. He's averaging 8.8 points a game, 2.5 boards and 2.5 assists. I mean, that's great for a rookie that we took at 26th, a point guard, 6'1". I think he was maybe a senior at Oregon.
Yeah, he was a 4-year player at Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't ask for more than that. I feel like he came in he's been the most productive rookie we've had since probably Tatum. I mean, honestly, Grant Williams, Robert Williams, none of those guys would really
No,
move the
exactly.
needle to start out. And that's not how we operate usually. You know, we just kind of let the rookies go and whatever happens, happens. But I think he has been great. I would like to say that Aaron Naismith, the kid we took out of Vandy, has not really gotten a lot of playing time, and I feel like when he does play, it's almost like he's forcing up these shots, and people know that he's a three-point shooter, so people try to get in his face. But I got to say, over the last 4 games, out of our last 5, we lost to you, but then we beat Orlando without Tatum. We beat Washington. We beat Miami. We beat Toronto. I mean, those are 3 tough teams. Washington, of course, just being hard because Bradley Beal can drop 60.
Beal had he had 60 against Philly, and I think he still had 40, 45 on you guys.
He did, and he's going to do stuff like that, But basically, it's all just to say that I'm happy with their production, and I think honestly he's going to get minutes when Kemba comes back because Brad sees that he is able to contribute. I'm impressed with him.
No, 100%. And I think a lot of people said kind of similar things about Emmanuel Quickly. Like he was supposed to be a late first, maybe even early second. Some people were like, oh, the Knicks could have gotten a guy like Quickly in the second round. He'd be an okay role player. He can't really play point guard. CBS gave him a D+, and then he ended up being great. But a lot of people said the same thing about Pritchard. Oh, Pritchard was a 4-year player. Oh, really limited. Oh, he sucks defensively. Oh, what the Celtics reached and then traded away the 30th pick. What the hell is Danny Ainge doing? And then all of a sudden, the games start and the kid's balling.
I think that Danny was super high. Danny was wicked high on Peyton Pritchard. He was he told Brad to draft him basically, and Brad did. But
that's the thing, dude. Intelligent basketball people, I guess there weren't as many in-person workouts, or I don't even know what the hell the deal was because of COVID. But I mean, when intelligent basketball people are all right, here's our guy. Somebody in the Knicks organization was all right, Leon Rose, I know you like your Kentucky guys, but I promise you, this guy Emmanuel Quickly is going to be good. And he's all right, but exactly the same thing. The Celtics are all right, no, this dude Peyton Pritchard, he's going to be good. He might not be a superstar, but he's going to be able to come in and contribute right away. And I really agree with what you said, how the Celtics rookies, they kind of never really do shit. Maybe they'll be a decent role player. Even Jaylen Brown, his rookie year, he was just a role player. He would come in, put a couple shots. He was basically a 3-and-D type of role player, played 15 minutes a game.
The thing is, we're never a team. I mean, if you're drafted by the Magic, if you're Cole Anthony, or if you're, I know LaMelo isn't starting in Charlotte, but if you're a team like that has nothing to lose, of course you play the rookies. Or if you're Golden State and you need that to fill that position, of course you play the rookie. But we've never been a team like that. We don't as you know, we don't really rebuild. We haven't rebuilt in a while. So these players come in on playoff teams. I mean, when we got Jason Tatum, we had the 1 seed that year,
Yep.
So for a rookie to come in and contribute right away is kind of bizarre on an Eastern Conference Finals competitor, so.
Yeah. And I actually, it's kind of funny because I thought that player was going to be Naismith. I thought he was going to be the first guy as the Celtics. But you know what? Now the more that I look at it, you know how the playoffs come, and then all of a sudden this rookie that's played limitedly the whole time, all of a sudden they start playing a lot more in the playoffs, and they actually put in work in their role. I think that's what Brad's going to do with Naismith, to be honest.
Yeah, and there are 72 games, right? So we have a while left. I mean, not as long as we'd normally have, but we still have a lot of time to play basketball, and I think there are going to be some blowouts. Either way, winning or losing, and Aaron's going to be able to come in, and I just don't want him to keep chucking shots. I want him to really get set and be part of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a shooter and you're not getting a lot of minutes, when you come in, you're going to want to shoot.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's when we play in rec, if we play pickup and we're playing with a bunch of assholes, maybe it's 3 guys, 4 guys that know each other, and you're kind of the odd one out. Every time you get the ball, you're going to be fuck it, I'm taking this 25-footer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then maybe you hit one and they give you the ball again.
That's very true. He's just trying to get that ball.
That's what I feel like it is with Naismith. Yeah, and that's what I feel like it was when he was in the game, especially in garbage time against the Knicks too. But yeah, so I think looking at what Brooklyn just did to add James Harden, if you look firepower wise, it just doesn't. I mean, I know you're very high on Tatum and Brown. One thing I wanted to ask you, like, is Jaylen Brown that nice? Is Jaylen Brown as nice as he's showed?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's a really efficient player, and I think he really complements Tatum well because it's like a double-edged sword, right? So it's kind of like in football, you're either defending the run or you're defending the pass, right? You either have Julio Jones out there, or you're covering the run with like Dalvin Cook or something. What the Celtics give you is they give you that kind of, you have to make a decision. So Tatum is the kind of guy that can, first of all, he's lights out from outside, right? And Brown is a pretty decent three-point shooter. He's hot and cold sometimes. But Tatum can shoot it outside, and also when he drives inside, he's looking to give you a turnaround. He's looking to give you a turnaround shot from mid-range. That's what he's looking. He's got that Kobe in him. He trained with Kobe for a summer. He's got that in him, right? Well, Jaylen Brown is like the opposite, where he might hit like a turnaround. He might hit like an open shot in the mid-range, but he's mostly looking to drive. He gets a lot of his points up at the bucket. So it kind of makes you make a decision where if they're both attacking, Brown might dish it to Tatum. Tatum might hit a turnaround on you, or Tatum might hit Brown on the cut and boom, layup. So I think that's really why he's been so successful lately, is because they're making teams make a decision. Because every time Brown's in the game, he's going to drive it in, and he's going to go hard, and he's athletic, man, and he might dunk right on your head. I've seen it happen a couple times this year. I know even in the playoffs last year, he just threw it right down. I want to say it was on Toronto. I think it was OG Anunoby really caught a body. It was just crazy, man. So he's really athletic. He can finish at the rim. I mean, look at his percentages from the last few games.
I think he shot 9 of 20 against the Knicks.
Okay, I mean, that was a bad game.
He was hot and cold. 9 of 20 is still pretty good. That's almost 50%.
It is, but before that, I mean, we're looking at 50%, 47%, 43%. He had a bad game against Miami, but we still won, so that means Tatum did well. Do you think Jaylen Brown could be an All-Star this year? I definitely think it's possible.
I completely agree. I think especially with a lot of teams struggling, I mean, the Nets will probably have 2 All-Stars.
The Nets will have 2 All-Star. Philly will have 2 All-Stars. The Bucks should only have 1. If Chris Middleton gets in again, I'm going to be a little
No, dude, Chris
pissed.
Middleton's actually been really good, dude.
I know, but like he's Chris Middleton, and
No, Middleton's nice, bro. Middleton's nice.
All right. It's just Chris Middleton. The dude's going
But
bald.
he has to
I'm just
deserve
not
it, though.
into
He definitely has to deserve it. But I mean, Jaylen Brown's been playing great basketball on both ends of the floor. But like, I'll be honest, like I feel like there's probably going to be a Nets Celtics playoff series. There's a pretty good chance of it at some point. And like, I don't usually root for the Celtics, but I will definitely be rooting for the Celtics in that series. And like on paper, you guys probably don't have the firepower to match up.
No, and I don't really think anybody does, if I'm going to be honest with you.
No.
I watched the Nets game the other day. I watched the Nets Bucks, and we had this conversation, and I'm going to save it because we could talk about it later in the episode. But basically, I'd just like to say that Nets team is, I mean, obviously, probably the best team of basketball right now.
Yeah.
But the Lakers, I don't know. All right, we'll get to it later. Any other Celtics questions you want to ask me?
Sort of. I was just gonna say, so you think that maybe the Celtics don't want to throw away this title window and some deals get made at the deadline? You get maybe another good starting option, maybe another big man, maybe another guy who could just be a volume scorer.
Well, the thing is,
just yes or no question.
No, I'm going to say no.
No.
I think that it's hard because, by Danny passing on Harden, that was him valuing the Brown-Tatum timeline. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He has prioritized that Tatum, who's 22, and Brown, who's 23, 24, I don't
Yeah,
remember.
that's actually insane when you look at like even just as the league as for the league as a whole. There's so much good young talent in the league.
Hmm.
That I don't know if I've seen it like this in a really long time.
It really makes you optimistic. You know it,
Oh, for sure.
but the thing is, I'm trying to kind of formulate my. So by not going for James Harden, right? We saved Jaylen Brown because that was going to be the piece. I think
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown has slowly moved himself. I read an article. I think it was Chris Forsberg wrote this article about Brown slowly sliding his way into the untouchable category for the Celtics.
I think he should be. I think he should probably be untouchable, dude.
And it's not something that I really ever saw. I always said, give him Jaylen Brown. Give him Jaylen Brown. But he is seriously, I mean, he's over the last 5 games. I'm just saying this because I'm looking at him, but he's had 20 or more. You know, he's hit 2 or 3 threes in each game. He's had, 5 or more rebounds in every game, including 2 double-doubles, 5 assists a game, 2 steals a game. I mean, he's seriously becoming a really efficient player. And that's kind of scary. So you couple that with Jason Tatum, I kind of do see, and I hope it's not sacrilege, but I do kind of see a little bit of that Boston Big Three from back in the day. Tatum is very Paul Pierce-esque. He has that mid-range game on lock, the fadeaway, the threes. He's got that. Except he's just way more athletic and a way better defender than Paul Pierce ever was, right? So you have the best player on the team. You have Jason Tatum. So if Jaylen Brown can be Ray Allen minus the 3 plus the athleticism and defense. I mean,
no, but Jaylen Brown's even a good 3-point shooter.
And he is, but of course, he's not as good as Ray
No,
Allen.
Ray Allen's like one of the 3 best shooters of all time right now, probably.
But if you sacrifice that 3-point shot and now you add defense and athleticism, the ability to get to the bucket and really high field goal percentage, all right, now we're looking dangerous. Okay, so now what else do we need? Well, Kemba would be good. But I don't know really if he's on that timeline. What I would personally like is a 4 or 5, a young guy to kind of grow up with these guys. I mean, they're not. Tatum's 3 years away from his prime, 2-3 years away from his prime, from starting his prime. And I think Brown is kind of approaching that as almost a 20-point per game scorer. He's 25 points per game.
I was gonna say Brown's been
25 points a game, 5 boards, 3 assists.
Do you see, like, as an outside fan, I mean, like when especially when Kyrie Irving was there, I kind of like looked at the Celtics score and I was like, all right, Jaylen Brown and Tatum. I was like, I know that for a fact that these guys have potential, but they were kind of being anointed before they were that nice. Mm-hmm. But now when I watched them, especially last year and in the playoffs, and then now this year, I'm like, no, dude, like these guys, like both of these guys are that nice. Like Tatum could eventually become like a top 10 or like around that level type player, you know what I mean? And Jaylen Brown is going to be one of the best like two-way players, like one of the maybe like 10 best two-way players in the league himself.
Yep.
And like what you said, that Jaylen Brown's kind of reaching like untouchable status, and like if you just say something like that, it's like, oh, you're probably just getting attached to a player like that or something. But from an outsider perspective, I said it myself that if the Celtics are looking for James Harden, I don't know if that's really the piece, especially looking at how Kyrie was when he was on Boston a couple of years ago.
Yep.
That, like, I look at how Brown and Tatum play together, and I look at what he's able to provide on both ends of the floor. I don't know that giving up a guy like Jaylen Brown, sure, he's not as good of a player as James Harden, but with what Boston's doing, and especially the timeline, like you said.
You know who I want?
I don't.
And I did
like,
want
there's
James
probably
Harden.
not going to be a player as good as James Harden that hits the market.
I did want James Harden, and I did say get rid of Jaylen Brown, and we didn't get him, and I was like, damn, freaking saved my ass from looking like an idiot, because exactly like you just said, Kyrie came, messed up the whole thing, right? Al came, and he was good for a while. Hayward came, was good for a while. But, I mean, they're taking up max contracts. The last 3 max contracts we had really did shit in Boston, other than Al Horford. Al Horford was good. He was a good leader for us. But, I mean, you have Tatum averaging 26.
Well, he was ass.
Yeah, he was ass. I've gone on record. But
Yes.
you have Tatum averaging 27, 7, and 4, right? And then you have Brown averaging 25. So really, I mean, that's it. Those are the guys you build around. Whereas before we were trying to get star players and build around those guys. No, you have the 2 star players right here. I think all we need left, honestly, when you were talking about Julius Randle, I was like, I'd like me some Julius Randle. I don't know.
You see, Julius almost might. Like if you want to line up, give us a couple of picks. Like we could maybe work something out.
And I'm
Julius-
not knocking it.
Julius probably would fit you guys pretty well. Like he's actually, especially what he showed this year. Like he's a very good passer for a big man. I'm not even saying like he's like making these crazy Jokic assists, because a lot of times like he'll make these dumb passes, and he'll be making passes that have to get tipped by a defender before it does anything.
Mm-hmm.
But like when he's able to not only play for himself and play for other people, which is what he's been doing this year. What the fuck is my computer doing? We're good.
A player, so it's like I want that big to emulate that Kevin Garnett. I really do. And, Marcus has kind of already given us the intensity of Kevin Garnett, so it's like I don't really need a tenacious big. I would like Karl Anthony Towns or, somebody like that.
Let me look at guys who could be available this year, who wouldn't cost a ridiculous amount, who could legitimately help the team. We've talked about Miles Turner. I think Andre Drummond. I think Vucevic, who I know for a fact we've talked about before. And maybe even if the Bulls don't know what they want to do, like a guy like Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah. Hey.
I think some of those guys are probably more realistic, but the Celtics have been stockpiling other assets. You see, I can't count out anything and call anything an unrealistic trade anymore, because this Nets trade, what they just gave up to get James Harden, who's borderline a top 5 player in the league, was fucking bullshit.
Oh, absolutely, top 5 player.
So you could tell me, yeah, I'm gonna trade Carson Edwards, 2 first-round picks, like an authentic bowl of fucking New England clam chowder. And
all right, boys, we
Taco
hit the
Bell.
over. Okay. It was a layup away. Woo! Mama! Jesus Christmas, bro. 29
that
seconds
Jazz
left,
one?
they fucking hit it. 29
Jazz one?
Yeah, dude. Holy shit. Oh, man. Dude, I texted. Because fucking Nate put my bets in. I was like, dude, I am so sorry. Holy fuck. I was like, dude, I don't think it's hitting, because he just trusts me on basketball. So he just fucking doubles whatever I say. Dude, I hit it by 2 fucking points.
Who hit the layup?
Oh, I don't even fucking know. Some fucking crackerjack, dude. I have no idea.
It was someone on Utah.
Oh, man,
I just
dude.
saw their score change.
Oh, my God. I couldn't even, I wasn't even listening to what you were saying. I'm so sorry. Oh,
No, you're good.
my God, dude. No, like,
Dude,
so I just tell him a bet. I'm like, all right, put me down for like $5, 14 parlay. And he's like, and he'll be like, all right, I'll double it, and I'll just keep half. So I'm like, holy, because, oh, my God, though.
someone on the Pels even just scored.
Yeah, dude, 2 points. Holy shit. Oh, my God, dude, I'm sweating. And honestly, it's only $5, and I would win $40. Like, it's so inconsequential, but
But that's lit.
it's just, it's like now I can fight tomorrow to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I'm so sorry.
No, please, when you edit that, you have to keep that whole sit in the show.
Oh, my God. Maybe I will.
Absolutely essential. There, final 118-102. That's 220 points. Congratulations.
It was a 217.5 over, so I needed 218 to win.
Love to see it.
I texted him like 20 minutes ago. I was like, dude, I don't think this thing's going to hit. I was like, I'm so sorry.
All right, so like of those 4 guys, of the guys that I was mentioning, who do you think would fit Boston the best?
Well, I think, honestly, Vucevic would fit the best, but the thing is I don't want to get rid of what we have. I mean, Kemba's kind of been out of sight, out of mind. Like, it would be okay to trade him, I guess.
But you're not gonna be trading Kemba for Vucevic, though.
No, I know. I just, like, here's the thing is I'm not trading Brown, I'm not trading Tatum, and I'm not trading Marcus Smart, to be honest with you.
No, Marcus Smart. You need role players on a team, bro.
Yeah, to me, if you get rid of that guy, that's a glue guy. You get rid of that guy,
Yeah.
the team starts to fall apart, right? Maybe Brown and Tatum start fighting a little bit, whatever. Marcus Smart keeps the locker room in check. That's his job. So he's, to me, untouchable. But, yeah, I want a center that can score. I mean, I'd love Lauri Markkanen because I don't know really how consistent he's been. I mean, of course, we had a Bulls game that ended up getting postponed, but we'll play them on the 25th. I don't know how consistent he's been. The team looks like they've been playing well, 6-8. I mean, that's not terrible for the Bulls. That's kind of about what I expect. So,
yeah, he's been doing like 18 and 7, 18.9 points a game, 7.1 rebounds. That's I know that's what is he doing field goal percentage wise? 47%. That's pretty good. 3 point from three, shooting 40. So I mean, he's having a pretty good year.
yeah.
So he might take a little bit, but I mean, the Bulls, I feel like they have no idea what they want to do. But I mean, especially like Andre Drummond's going to be a free agent. I mean, the Cavs are 6-7.
I just want some
right
offense.
now, technically in the playoffs.
That's why I can't, in good conscience, go with Andre Drummond. I mean, yeah, he's a rebounding machine, and maybe he can just kick it back out to our shooters, but we need offense.
I mean, Andre Drummond isn't a bad.
Yeah, but he's.
I mean, if this were the 1990s, he'd be a much better offensive player.
Yeah, I mean, I did want Miles Turner. You're right. Of course, the break in his hand has kind of changed that, but.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great shooter, great rebounder, great scorer. I mean, I'd love to have Miles Turner.
Yeah. I mean, especially the way he's able to spread the floor. I know Andre Drummond's taken a couple of threes. I think you look at the Cavs. I don't think they're going to be in the playoff picture. Even if they are in the playoff picture, they just traded for Jarrett Allen, and he's going to be their center of the future. So I think Andre Drummond has to get traded, and I don't think it's going to take too much. Like even if it takes like Robert Williams, and maybe like. I don't know, one other like random like young player or something like that.
I mean, yeah, sure, I'd do that.
Decent pick.
If he's going to come back without like really a big contract, sure. I mean,
because this is his last year of his deal. He's going to be a free agent. Like he
how
just
old
accepted
is he?
his player
27?
Drummond? Yeah, I think he's probably around 27.
All right. I mean, yeah, if you're telling me it cost me Robert Williams and I don't know, Carson Edwards and a pick or two. Sure.
Although apparently, all right, so let's see. He's 27, yeah. When I just typed up Andre Drummond, apparently some report Cavs would love to sign Andre Drummond to long-term deal for approximately $60 million. I don't know why you just traded for Jarrett Allen.
I'd take Jarrett Allen, too.
Yeah, I know. No, Jarrett Allen's a good player. Like, well, honestly, one of the best defensive centers in the league. No, the other night, Drummond had 33 and 23 on our shit. He's averaging 19 and 15.
Oh, my God.
Dude, if you could just have him down there cleaning up your bricks, if you could just, I mean, he's playing for the Cavs, and they've had, like, some guys out and stuff, too. But if you could not even trade that much, get Andre Drummond and have him just clean up whatever bricks your big three's throwing up. I mean, he might only even be on the Celtics for a year. But he's going to give you also, you match up against a team like the Celtics, you match up against a team like the Nets, he's also going to give you an advantage inside. I mean, DeAndre Drummond's not nearly the player Andre Drummond is. Brooke Lopez isn't nearly the player Andre Drummond is. And then you play the Sixers, and it's like, shit, they haven't beat, but like, Drummond is still pretty good, But then right now you match up against Philly. I mean, I know you guys always kick Philly's shit in anyway. But wouldn't it be even easier if you have a guy like Andre Drummond to be matching up against Embiid instead of like Tice, who's like an undersized guy.
Absolutely.
So I think, I don't know, as an outsider, that's who I think Boston's most realistic target could be that helps this year.
Well, since you did one for me, I think I'd like to do one for you. You help me out. Let me help you out.
Sure.
Somebody I think the Knicks could go for that could elevate them. And this is just, I mean, this is without knowing anything about contracts or anything. I think you guys could go for like a Luega Conley or something.
Ooh, Luega Conley.
He's like a poor man's Chris Paul, a Walmart Chris Paul, if you will. And I think he's going to he's going to basically do for you guys what Chris Paul did for the Suns, just in maybe like a lesser degree. But Chris Paul really helped kind of shape the Suns. I mean, from what I saw the other day, they're playing well. Ayton's playing well. Booker's playing well. Chris Paul's there to hit the big shots, too, and encourage the younger players. I think Conley can be that for you guys. Not that you're desperately in need of a point guard, but that is a position that I would say is the worst for you guys because, of course, you have R.J. Barrett at the 2. Who do you run at the 3? Kevin Knox, I don't know, Julius Randle / Obi at the 4, Mitch at the 5. Like, you guys have a really talented team. I think if you had like a Mike Conley or something, that's the vet you need that would push you over the top.
Yeah, you see, like before the season, I was pretty good on the idea of trading for Mike Conley. He's going to be a free agent after this year, and with the Jazz being right in the thick of the playoff race, I feel like he probably won't. You know what I mean? They probably won't be trading him. But yeah, no, for the exact reasons that you said, that he could almost be like what Chris Paul is. I mean, at this point, Emmanuel quickly could potentially be our point guard of the future. But you bring in Mike Conley next year, right? You have the 2 of those guys as your guards. You go Barrett, you go Toppin, or if you still have Randall around, and then you bring Toppin off the bench, and then Mitchell your 5. I mean, that's pretty good. And Conley's still a good defender, and if you don't sign him to a long-term deal, there's not too much to worry about. I would definitely be interested in a player like Mike Conley. I think to have good veteran players like Mike Conley is undoubtedly would undoubtedly be a positive.
All right, man. Well, with that, it was good to get those thoughts out on tape. How the Knicks are doing, how the Celtics are doing. It's nice to check in. I hope the fans appreciate that. Get our thoughts. Of course, if you have any questions or anything or any opinions that you'd like to hear from us, you can, leave a comment down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and we could be talking about it on the next episode.
Yeah, and honestly, if you guys ever have an episode idea or something like that, or a segment idea,
drop us a comment. That being said, thank you everybody for listening and sticking around, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Rock and Jouv. Rock and Jouv. Rock and Jouv. Rock and Jouv. Rock and Jouv.